Hello, I'm Aaron Anohosa, and this week's 5-minute reflection is One Man's Hero. The question asks, how does one man's hero portray the experiences of Irish Catholic soldiers, Mexican defenders, and U.S. military power in ways that help us think about race, ethnicity, religion, and belonging in the borderlands? So the film starts out with these soldiers. Actually, before that, the Irish are immigrants and they join the military to become Americans, just like how we would today. If I was an immigrant, yes, I have heard that joining the military does make you or help you become a U.S. citizen. And in the film, they sign and they become citizens, and then these young men, are whipped because they're caught going to church. They leave camp and they go to church, so they end up getting whipped, and they end up deserting and fleeing to Mexico, where they meet where they get ambushed and captured at first, and then the Mexicans realize they are Catholic as well, and they end up understanding that the Americans are Protestants and they are being prejudiced and just discriminating against them because of their religion, even though they are Americans, even though they're one of them, they're being treated as if they're inferior or they're just, lesser than. So John Riley is taking them to Mexico, where they get ambushed and captured, and eventually figure out that they are more of one and the same. And they end up siding with them, and it goes on, and John Riley and his men end up fighting for the Mexican army against the Americans, because he just couldn't take it anymore, and it was tiring of the Americans to be so harsh. So they end up fighting, and some of his men end up getting killed and hung, and ultimately he ends up getting branded with the D for being a deserter, and that's how it portrays, and the Mexicans are more welcoming, and they're more brotherly, and they end up realizing just because you're of one nation doesn't mean that's who you are. Just because borders say this is America and this is Mexico, well, I feel more of a Mexican even though I'm American, and that's how they felt. And they felt that the Mexicans were brothers to them, of welcomed them with open arms and cared for them, and they became bandits in that way, from being from trying to be American heroes to flipping to bandits. And we see that with the other discussions that was posted with the Californios and others, that they get driven into craziness, I guess you could say. I mean, that's what we would call it nowadays. If something like this were happening, if we got discriminated against so much, and then we end up having a revolution or under criminal activities, such as not violent protests, but protests like of arson, destroying buildings and whatnot, would be very criminalistic nowadays, and that's kind of where they were at the time. So thank you very much.